Hey, bit different. The exit from the house was different. Different car, a lot of different stuff in our life, and probably the prettiest difference is that my camera person, hi Lovey, is Carla. And immediately you see her face and you think, why is she behind the camera and why are you in front of it? Well, anyway, because it's my vlog. And also, love, I'm gonna show you something. So we're staying in this new place somewhere in Pasig, and it's so funny because while we're staying here for now temporarily, we pass by this school every day. We go in and out. And it's so funny because I've been to the school several times when I was in grade school and high school. And it was one of those schools where they would hold newspaper writing competitions. Did you ever go to those, love?
No.
No. Man, I did so many school extracurricular stuff like that. Newspaper writing competitions. We would go to the school and I just saw the halls and I could feel the feeling like I was 13 again or 14 and all these, coming from this tiny school and seeing all these people from what I thought were big schools back then. Now I realize they were just a little bit bigger than us, but to me they were massive. And just being so scared, of like, how will we perform? I just had this major feeling of inferiority. Wait, we're coming up on it. It's literally right here. Here we go. I remember those hallways. We would have seminars on newspaper writing, editorial writing, feature writing. Those endless jokes of the graduation feature, diba, and stuff like that. Then there would be competitions, and if you placed, it was this amazing thing. Maybe another one that some people might have gone through were like leadership camps in teachers camp in Baguio. Now, I used to do those. Every year, you expected for like a 5-6 year period that you're just gonna go to Baguio with some schoolmates and some teachers, and you're gonna perform in competitions with other schools and other students. And that's what I wanted to talk about in this vlog, because I've got stuff like that honestly, I enjoy it, I liked it, but I sometimes wonder, today, 38 years old, in the job I'm in, the life season I have, what was that? Like, what do I make of that? How do I understand that? Like, there's stuff, like there's parts of my life that just don't fit a screenplay. If you were gonna make a movie of my life, this would be like, what do you do with that? It doesn't fit. It's not clean enough. If there's a fictionalized TV series, these are the parts that get cut out. And yet life is full of stuff like that. And many people that I get to talk to, including people who've responded to this vlog, that's what they're wondering about. That's what they're curious about. It's like, how do I make sense of this? How do I make sense of things in my life that I can see this fulfilling some kind of narrative, having an objective, a goal that it fits the overall storyline. But this doesn't make sense. This is probably completely against it. How do I make sense of those things? I know a lot of people, often believers, Christians, who wrestle with this, who are trying to guess at what God's will is for their life. And they think they have a picture, but there's a part that sticks out. Kind of like those newspaper seminars. Like, but what was that? Maybe it's an experience that you're like, but why am I here? Why did I have that experience? Or maybe it's a job. But why did I have this kind of job if I feel this way about life or ministry? Or maybe it can even be a Bible verse. But you know what? When I was 13, this was my life verse. So this doesn't make sense. I was talking to a friend about that recently, where we were discussing, and he described the decision he made. Like, he was like, I could have stayed in this job, but I transitioned and I did something else. And I laughed with him and I said, that's the kind of decision you go back to years later, and you just wonder, what if I took the other way? Life's full of stuff like that. I'm talking to a young man online now who's in one job, but he also wonders if something he did in college is better for him, and if he's called into ministry. So all these things don't fit. They don't. It's not like a nice storyline where, oh my gosh, oh kaya pala, oh build up, oh the foreshadowing, diba? And we don't have that, and so it can get confusing. Some people do this with love life. You say it all the time, Lovey, right? If you've seen our talks, you go back to the talk about mindsets before we got married. Don't be a dictionary. Because what does a dictionary do? You look for meaning in everything. Oh, why this, why that? And in trying to get to the meta-narrative, the overall storyline, we rob ourselves the experience of being in the moment. Of being in the moment and going through the process. But does that mean there is no overall story? No, there is. But how do we interact, or how do we understand that overall storyline? And you know this is becoming a problem when maybe we're chafing at the process. We're like, I don't like the process, I don't like the process. Just get me to the end. Tell me how it ends. No, the process is a part of it. Or you also know that you're doing this when you're trying to prematurely fit the narrative, and what you end up doing is you make huge jumps in your logic and you ignore certain parts of your life, certain parts of who you are and how God made you to be, key relationships, because you're like, hindi, dapat ito lang yung kasya. So I'm gonna take out everything else in order to fit this. Now that's not right either. Or maybe you're uncomfortable with the uncertainty. You're uncomfortable with just not knowing. You're uncomfortable with, I know this isn't forever, but why am I here now? It's not forever. It's not forever. But you are here now. And that's part of the process. And that's fine. And so we end up living life like we're playing a video game, and I've done this, and I've ruined video games like this. You know, sometimes you download a walkthrough. A walkthrough is basically where somebody who played the game before tells you everything that's gonna happen and how to play the game so that you unlock all the storylines and get all the best equipment, you know, and beat the bad guys. And you know, I've done that. And so I religiously followed. I had this like printout beside me. Printout pa no? I had this printout beside me while playing this game, one of the best games of all time, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. And I ruined the game. I still had fun, but I wasn't in the story because I was out of it. And then you can't do that in life. You're not out of the game, you're in it. We've been trained by movies to see super clean storylines, so we'll watch historical movies or biographic movies that are so nicely edited, but that's editing. You know, people have made a joke about the training montage or the makeover montage where you skip through so much of the process. But you know what else you skip through? You skip through all the odd bits of real life that stick out. Where Winston Churchill was, yes, he was heroic, yes, he made great speeches, also a racist, also an imperialist, you know what I mean? That's real life. And so we because we watch so much movies or series, we think our life should look that way. And so when our life has these odd shapes or issues, we're like, something must be wrong. No, that's you. That's all of us. No one is like that. Life isn't like a movie. I'm not saying that there is no meta-narrative. I'm not saying that there is no overall storyline. I'm not saying that we're adrift in a sea of chaos, diba? And you just have to make the best of what you have. There is someone writing the story. The thing is though, that's not you. That's not me. We're not the ones writing the story. That's why I believe this pandemic has been so stressful for so many of us, because it doesn't fit the storyline in our head. It doesn't fit the timeline of my life. It doesn't fit the plan I had, but I was supposed to graduate this way. I was supposed to get married this way. I was supposed to have this kind of job. None of it fits anymore. So there's two options. Either keep trying to control the narrative, which is impossible, or two, give up and say there is no narrative. We're all just adrift in chaos. That's a terrible way to think. And some people will do that and try to be optimistic about it. And basically they're deluding themselves in order to not face the hopelessness. No, those aren't our only options. There is a narrative. It's just not being written by you. See, even when we read the Bible, we might make this mistake because we see the divine perspective. We see the God perspective, but we forget that the people in the story didn't. Job had no clue about the entire cosmic drama happening. All he could tell was his life was going to hell. And even by the end of the story, he doesn't know. Was there no story? There was. Was it all for nothing? No. But he didn't know. He had to live it. See, Psalm 139 verse 6 says, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. That's the tension. There is a story. There is an author. It's not you though. And we don't even know what it would be like yet. Number one, there is a story. Thank God for that. Your life has meaning. Your life has value. Your life has purpose. Things that seem tragic will turn out for good. Romans 8:28. Things that seem pointless will surprisingly bear fruit. Things that you thought were an accident or were harm meant for you What the devil means for evil, God turns to good, like Joseph said. There is a greater narrative, but you are not the one writing it. You are the one living it. The Bible says He is the potter, we are the clay. We have to also accept our humanity, that we are creatures in space and in time. In space means I'm here, not there. In time means I'm in 2021, in the middle of the pandemic still. Hopefully almost over, but no telling. But someone's writing my story. And living in the moment means making the best decision that's in front of you right now. And not trying to min-max the game or meta the game and say, but how will this look 10 years from now? Sometimes that's part of it. But you gotta make the best decision for right now. In the sense that, where are you right now? Let me put it this way. I was talking to a friend this morning. This friend of mine, in a call, he was describing his life. And he said, you know what, Joe? I'm working in this job now, this corporate job, and I thank God, I know God brought me here. And I laughed. And I said, hey, do you hear yourself? He said, why? I said, when I met you, you were working in a different corporate job. And you said, I know God brought me here. I'm happy to be here. And then things you couldn't stay in that job. You couldn't stay, you couldn't tolerate it. There was gossip, ganon. And so you had to leave. And you left and worked in a much smaller company. And yet in that day you told me, I know God called me here. And then while you were working in that smaller company, you started your own business. And I asked you how that was going. And you said, I know God led me to start this business. And then during the pandemic, you could not stay in that other job. It was violating your conscience, your principles. You started your own home business. And when we asked you about it, when Carl and I asked you about it, you said, I know God gave me this business. And now you're working a corporate job again, similar to the original job you had before. And yet he says, I know God called me here. You know what's guiding my friend there? He's not gaming the system. He's not trying to figure out the storyline or how to spin this to other people. No, he's just following God day by day, step by step. God opened the job, he took the job. There was confirmation, there was peace. He heard from God, go take that job. God opened the business, take the business. God opened this other car. And the whole time, what's he following? Not the storyline in his head. He's following God. What is God telling you? Where are you right now? What is God telling you? Works for career? Works for love life. So many people ask, what do I do with this relationship? Do you like him? Do you like her ba talaga? Does she like you? Do you want to get married now? Very simple. You don't need too much signs and wonders for those things. Even your faith, we can treat it this way. We have too much of a desire. What if this is God's will? What if I'm getting it wrong this whole time? What if God's been mad at me the whole time? No. Day by day. What did God say today? What is God saying tomorrow? Diyan lang tayo. I know young people who've wrestled with their faith. And you know what's tripping them up? For many of the ones I've talked to, it's not that their faith right now is weak. It's that they're afraid that one day their faith later on will get weak. Everyone's faith gets weak somewhere down there. I know a few people who say it never did. All right, well, good for them. But for me, my faith gets weak. But that's not what God's asking me to worry about now. I was talking to this young man who said, what if I backslide one day? That's not for you to be afraid of now. The question is, do you believe Jesus today? Do you believe that He's got you in the palm of His hand? That's all that's being asked of us right now. And because we believe, we obey. That's it. And maybe you'll waver. Maybe you'll question. That's for tomorrow. Where are you right now? I actually had to tell that guy, you know your problem, you're too meta. I said that to him. You're too meta. You're acting like you're a dispassionate observer, looking even at yourself, and you're one of the people you're viewing. No, you are a creature in that body, in that time, in that space. The question is, does that creature, you, believe Jesus today? One quote I love about times like this, I like going meta rin naman kasi. I like looking for the grand narrative. I like looking for the Easter eggs. I want to know what God is doing throughout all of history. And I pray you don't stop doing that. If that's your interest and that helps you with your walk with God and loving God and others, go do that. But remember also our limited space. I like that quote from the Lord of the Rings where, the Lord of the Rings, it's a good read actually in this pandemic because it talks about when the world got darker. Because before this time, Sauron's power had not grown. But what you watch in the series or what you read in the books is the coming of a dark age that was prevented, by the actions of good people. And Frodo, the bearer of the ring, and that's his whole story, right? His whole story is, I didn't want this. And so one time he says to Gandalf, because he can see the dark cloud coming, and he says, I wish it did not happen in my time. And Gandalf said, so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. God is God. God holds the future. He is writing our stories. He is writing His story, and we're a part of it. And what He asks us to do is to trust Him and obey Him in the best way we can with whatever time we have today. Yeah, I hope that encourages you to don't try to do everything, to be everything. Trust God with what you have now. Leave the results to Him. Dear Lord, please help me and anyone who needs to hear this to remember that we are only human beings, but You are God. And I thank You that what we can't explain, what we can't understand, you have a purpose for bringing about. And so maybe You'll show us soon, maybe we won't know until we get to eternity, but we're just glad that You hold the future. In Jesus' name, amen. See ya.